Drake Reed, feeding the roots.
You can't tell
Made some
nobody what
friends,
you've
I
been
think.
going through. All that weight, all that pressure, and you've been suffering in silence. I hear you.
Daily battles in my mind. Need your light, I'm walking blind. I'm a soldier, try not to lose. Trying to step, but I can't move. Daily battles in my mind. Need your light, I'm walking blind. I'm a soldier.
This other area I want to touch on, and I'm not sure if you've experienced it, but quite a few athletes and just people in general are experiencing it, having sleep paralysis, insomnia, and these sorts of spiritual attacks, when they're going to sleep. So you move into a new area, there's different territorial spirits and things of that nature that's bothering people, when it's time for them to go to bed. What's a good way for a person to get a good night's sleep when they're having these sorts of things happening?
Yeah, this one, another good question. I've always, I probably learnt this with one of the imports we had in my last couple of years. He was always up all hours of the night because obviously when you come to a new country, it's quite lonely. It might be just yourself coming out, or there might be another import coming with you, but you may not know them that well. You're only just starting to get to know them. And so it's a lonely place. And so when you're talking to your family, especially back in America, it's like, 2, 3, 4 in the morning over here in Australia. And so that's your time to connect with them. So you end up sleeping during the day, which is where you could be building relationships and all that sort of stuff. And then you're up all night trying to stay connected with home. So it is an interesting one, which kind of falls into that mental health space versus spiritual oppression, which I know is sort of an area you're sort of touching on too. That loneliness, which can slip into anxieties and stresses and, even some depression at times if you're missing home heaps. That's where we need to go, hey, it's okay to get some help. It's okay to get some professional support if that's what's required. When it comes to the other side of things, if it's more of a spiritual battle, am I supposed to be here? Am I not supposed to be here? Doubts, worries, all that sort of stuff creeping in. That's where you really need to sort of seek that spiritual guidance. And so, which is why I think it's important to have some sort of idea in mind when you're going to go overseas or go to college or whatever it is. What is your game plan for staying involved in a Christian community? Because that's when you start getting attacked or when sleep's an issue, because your routine's out of whack. You've got to start a new routine, a new resume, all that sort of stuff. But if you don't have that wise counsel around you, again, that loneliness becomes even lonelier because you haven't got systems in place to help you. So again, I guess the theme of this is accountability. Who are you allowing into your world that's going to keep you accountable? So did you find you had that in place yourself when you were traveling?
No, not until years later, because it's like, you understand where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Australia was much easier to deal with because everyone spoke English. It's not, there's very little crime. Everything's like no worries. You get upset about something, but like, hey, what you upset about? No worries, mate.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah, that's right.
so so Australia was just a breeze for me. I was able to find the church and deal with that. So that wasn't a big issue. The issues really started to come in when I moved to Europe because
Yeah.
not a lot of Christian churches. I know I asked about it. Most people I knew never went to church. It's a lot of people that are Catholics or say that they were Catholics, but they never went to church either. So it's a lot of different cultures, especially when I was in France. There's so many different people from so many different places. So you had that going on. Then I lived in Austria. Then I lived in Argentina. Then I lived in Italy. So
Mm.
everywhere you going, you're getting tossed up. And so yeah, I mean, you're learning. You're really exposed to quite a bit more than what you're really prepared to deal with. And really, the only thing that what I really needed was kind of what you mentioned earlier was mentors. You're talking about someone that's probably twice your age, or at least 10 or 15 years older than you, that's
Mm.
life similar to yours. And, most family, that's where it comes into family is like most people in your family have not traveled like that, even if it's just in your home country. So when you're talking to them, the bigger issue that you have is I'm no longer in a democracy. I might be living somewhere where the military is not the United States military, or the politics are different, the economy is ran different. So you have all these things working on you, along with, hey, by the way, you do have to play really good or you going home.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, yeah.
So so it's really a challenge for quite some time. And you put all your energy and your focus on the why you're there, which is to play the
Mm.
sport. But there are plenty of, I mean, it's so much downtime. And so,
Yeah.
as a young person, you're impressionable. You're interested in this. You want to go try this out. You want to go to this theme park. You want to go see all the little sites and everything, the museums and the monuments and things. So, there's so many different ways you can get twisted up. So, so that was really one of my main reasons for having this book is just, man, when you get somewhere, you gotta have a plan. You gotta have some kind of direction, so you don't get tossed by the wind. Um,
Mm. It's good.
moving on, you kind of touched on a few things. How does a young athlete overcome loneliness? So yeah, you are away from your family, you are away from your
Mm.
church home. For you, I mean, you might be in Geelong and then you got to go play in Perth. Or you have
Yeah.
to move to Europe or America or whatever. How can an athlete better deal with loneliness?
Yeah, it is a challenge. I mean, the other thing too, you're away from all your comforts. One of the things I always find hilarious when Americans come over here is just like we're pretty similar in a lot of ways, but our food's different. You
Yeah.
know, like we love our Vegemite. You guys can't stand the stuff. You
Vegemite is
know,
disgusting, man.
uh, that's what I'm saying. And so you're away from your comforts, your home cooked food, like everything that's comfortable to you gets stripped away. The only two things that remain the same is the fact that you love playing basketball or sport, and you have a faith. And so your comfort needs to be in those things. So in your faith, and then obviously your basketball comes second. And the same thing is with that loneliness is that as Christians, we're never alone. That we have the source, we have our Father that we can go to any time of the day. And it's finding rest and finding comfort in that. Because it says in John where our sheep hears our voice, the shepherd hears our voice, and so when we call out to him, he hears us. He keeps us, gives us comfort in all that we do. Um, but it, but then again, which we've touched on heaps of times, is furthermore to that. God's never going to put us in a place. I don't believe for too long where it's not the right place. So wherever you go, you went to Ballarat, you found a community. When you go to, if you go play in Europe or Argentina or Singapore or Japan, whatever it is, there are communities there that are available. It's, are we willing to take that faith step and get involved and engage? Or are we just going to do the easy thing and pick the worldly things and let that be our comfort? Which that's where, our faith gets really tested and sometimes we come unstuck. And then that guilt and shame and embarrassment comes into play as well. So it is a challenge, and loneliness is a real thing. I remember when I first moved away to play from my family, a couple of weeks in, you start questioning, oh, what have I done here? Why do I do this? And then, when you're able to put that to the side and just put yourself out there and get to know some people, you find that the world is a remarkable place that has some remarkable people that will help you along your journey. I believe when you went to Argentina, it was for a reason, and there'll be something that happened in Argentina that helped shape your life. And so if we go with that understanding, it can really help us in those tough times.
What you're saying is so true. I remember my first year in Australia. That was my rookie season. And you just when you move that far from home, you don't really know anybody. Everyone always says, I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust. I don't think
Yeah.
that's always true. You don't trust anybody until you have some experience, to
Yep.
where you really know that they can be trusted. So one of the main things you worry about when you are traveling and get signed these contracts is getting cut. It's like, oh man, we
Mm.
losing. I heard the last guy got cut, or those sorts of things. And then he's like, what's going to happen to me if I get cut or if we start playing bad and, all these sorts of things. So I was just totally locked in, man. I was just always working out all the time and making sure that I was on top of my game. But with that, I was pressing too much and I had some bad games. And it wasn't till Guy Malloy, met with me. He was like, hey, man, you got to hang with the guys. He's like, you
Yeah.
hang with the guys, man. If you don't do that, then nobody's going to trust you. And
Yeah.
so that was a time where, it had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with just social skills and stepping out of your comfort zone and just basically giving everyone a chance to know what type of person I
Mm.
really am. And man, that was just some awesome guys, man. I love talking to them guys, man, and I know I have plenty of friends, man, when I go to Australia and they can hit me up for whatever, man. So you have those different experiences in your career, especially when you're moving from place to place, man. You got to open up a little bit.
Mm.
Otherwise, you'll put yourself in the box.
Well, and even when it was your rookie season, right? So your rookie season, you've come to Australia, where no doubt your dream after college would have been to be drafted into the NBA.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden that doesn't happen. So you're dealing with disappointment, frustration, and anger because you probably saw the draft class. You probably played against a few of them, went, I'm better than that guy, I'm better than that guy.
yeah,
And then you come out to Australia where it's foreign.
yeah,
And you then go, I've got to prove myself, I've got to show my worth. Um, you know, like you're dealing with so much stuff.
yeah.
And then you got to get out there on the night and perform. Like it is a challenge. And that's where if you don't have things in place like accountability and people that will be like, hey, Drake, pull your head in here. You're better than this.
Mhm.
Just relax, breathe, you're fine. If you don't have that in place, like you're not setting yourself up for success. So there's so many things you can put in place
Can't
to
tell
really help.
nobody
So
what you've been going through.
yeah.
All that weight, all that pressure, and you've been suffering in silence. I hear you.
Daily battles in my mind. Need your light, I'm walking blind. I'm a soldier, try not to lose. Try to step, but I can't move.
It may be working for you, one aspect very well, but your total complete being is not 100%. Because there's a place you will fall short. Because culture is not complete.
Mhm.
If culture is complete, no one will travel to another country. If culture is complete, we will have internations relationship. No. Culture, there's something lacking in culture. There's something lacking in heritage. It is the story of people. It is not a story of God.
Battles in my